I'm back, and this is my top 10 Legend of Zeldas. Now, what inspired me to make this was that Game Trailers made their top 10 Legend of Zeldas, and quite a few people are mad about it. I'm gonna go over my top 10 from least to greatest. Number 10, Majora's Mask. Yes, I said it. Basically, I've played every single Legend of Zelda game, including the absolutely craptastic Philips CDI ones. And I can tell you unequivocally that the more I like a Legend of Zelda game, the more times I replay it. That's my particular way of determining if I really like a Legend of Zelda or not. Now, I am not a major fan of Majora's Mask. The reason why is because I felt that Majora's Mask was a expansion to the Legend of Zelda. I mean, that's what it felt like. It felt like an expansion to the original Ocarina of Time. And Zelda is such a rich and deep and interesting world. Why not make a new Legend of Zelda instead of an expansion, in my opinion? Now, storyline, like, I know some people say they're tired of Ganon as the enemy, but really for me, a Zelda game isn't a Zelda game unless Ganon is the enemy. He was the first enemy I ever fought in a Legend of Zelda game, and he's going to be the last enemy I ever fight in a Legend of Zelda game. He is Link's eternal enemy. You know, Superman has Lex Luthor, Batman has the Joker, Link has Mario has Bowser, Link has Ganon. They are archetypes against each other. Okay, Ganon has overwhelming power against Link's indomitable courage and will. Two forces going against each other, always against each other. And Majora's Mask didn't have that, so Majora was an okay villain, but once you got the Fierce Deity mask, which was the only really, really cool thing about Majora's Mask, was the Fierce Deity mask. Every boss was kind of a joke after the Fierce Deity mask. Everyone. Goat, the fish boss, Old Dalwa, the giant sandworm at Ikana Canyon. It just, boring. Number 9. Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons. Yes, I put them there. The reason why I didn't like these two games was because even though superficially they looked very similar to Link's Awakening, they had certain mechanical changes that made them not as much fun. You could tell that these games were not made by Nintendo, okay, proper, because they weren't as smooth, okay, as Link's Awakening or Link to the Past or, you know, any of those games. I mean, I like Capcom, but some of their games just, you know, I knew they were Capcom games when they had the disappearing puzzle blocks, because Capcom is very fond of their disappearing puzzle blocks that you have to navigate for platforming. They love doing that because, you know, why make a real puzzle when we can make you throw your controller across the room? That's Capcom's mantra. Why make a good puzzle when we can just make you curse out the developers? The only cool thing about Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons is that it basically is the prequel. Together they're the prequel to Link's Awakening. So they are the after story of A Link to the Past, the prequel to Link's Awakening. So I guess that's a good thing. Maybe. Number 8. Four Swords. Now, not Four Swords Adventures on the GameCube. Four Swords for the Game Boy Advanced. I was not a big fan of this game. I don't think Legend of Zelda should ever be multiplayer ever again. Because it's not... The Legend of Zelda is a solitary experience. You're exploring. When you bring other people into it, it just kind of gets... Now, there is an exception to this rule, and it's further up the list because I enjoyed it very much because it really felt like a multiplayer Link to the Past game. But I'll tell you more about it later on. Number 7. The Legend of Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. Now, this game is widely called by Miyamoto as his least polished game. And while I don't particularly like The Legend of Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, Link's Adventure, whatever, it's not a bad game. It's just so vastly different from the rest of the series that it kind of is the odd man out. I've beaten it 3-4 times. I've played it more times than that. Sitting down and playing through it is kind of a chore because when you die in that game, you go all the way back to the beginning, no matter how far you are. Not in terms of your progress, but like you go all the way back. You have to fight your way back to where you were until you get to the final temple of the game, and then you can start at the beginning of that, which is kind of a weird design choice. I agree with Miyamoto that it's one of his most polished games, but I mean it's not bad. But it's the odd man out, and it feels kind of weird. Number 6. The original Legend of Zelda game. The original Legend of Zelda game. Okay? Now, the first time I played this game, I played Link to the Past first. And I was lost. I had no idea what in the hell I was doing. I had to get a FAQ to play this game and beat it. Because I had no idea what was going on. Aesthetically speaking, as the first in the line of Legend of Zelda games, I understand its significance. In the openness that it represented, I understand its significance. But sometimes you need a clue as to what's going on. That game didn't even give you a clue because the technology wasn't there. But I've beaten it at least 10 times. So I'm not saying that it's a bad game. It's just if this isn't the first Zelda you ever played, you have no friend. Like if you played the later ones and try and go back and play this, you will be lost. Okay? That's my only caveat to it. Number 5. Ocarina of Time. That's right, Ocarina of Time is my number 5 on my list. Because I enjoyed Ocarina of Time. I've beaten it so many times that I can't even count it. But it never was... The ending for Ocarina of Time wasn't that fulfilling. It didn't give you that... that feeling that I kicked ass and took names. The ending was very ambiguous. I can't tell you how many high school study halls I spent with my group of friends over almost 11 years ago, discussing the ending of this game because it was so ambiguous. We didn't know where it took place in the story and the timeline. This is before they came out with the timeline, but we didn't know. We didn't know. So we spent all our time sipping Cokes and drinking coffee and talking about it. Graphically speaking, this was a very fun Legend of Zelda. It was a nice 3D representation of the Legend of Zelda, but it's not my favorite. Number 4. Wind Waker. We're getting to the Zeldas that I actually enjoy. I like the Wind Waker. I've beaten it about 8, 9, 10 times. I know there's a secondary mode where you never get the green outfit, and you can actually understand the ancient Hylian that these people are speaking, that the various creatures speak in the game. I've never done the second quest to really be bothered to do it because aside from some aesthetic changes, no real difference. But it's a very good game, and I would advise anyone to play it. This brought back the openness because Ocarina of Time wasn't really that open. Not really. It wasn't really that open. It wasn't that huge. It wasn't that big. Next, Number 3 is a tie between two games. The first one is Four Swords Adventure for the GameCube because it was a fun ocarina. It was a fun party title, but you could also play it single player, which is just lovely. And it basically told Four Swords Adventure basically was the sequel to the Minish Cap, and it was a very good game. And it had my favorite Ganon, the big blue pig with the pitchfork. That's my number one Ganon. Gerudo Ganon's okay, but I really like the blue pig with the red cape and the pitchfork. Oh, that's my favorite Ganon. And it's tied between that, and number 3 is tied between that game, which I enjoyed. It's a great game, and it was one of the first asymmetrical gameplay games, because you could use your Game Boy Advance hooked up to your GameCube to play this game, and you could go into certain parts of the game. You had to look down on your Game Boy Advance in order to follow what was going on. The only other game I believe that used that gameplay thing was Pac-Man Tournament Edition, DX or whatever it was called on the GameCube, where you could follow what was going on your Game Boy Advance, and maybe Crystal Chronicles had mini games that were on the Game Boy Advance, but none of them utilized it as well as Legend of Zelda: Four Swords Adventure. But the other number 3 that's tied is Twilight Princess. Yes, Twilight Princess. Let me put it this way: Ocarina of Time was a unfulfilled promise of what a 3D Legend of Zelda could be. Twilight Princess was the fulfillment of that promise. That's right. Twilight Princess was the was the fulfillment, okay, Ocarina of Time was Nintendo telling us, here's what you can do, here's what we're planning on doing, here's all the stuff we can do, and they gave us Ocarina of Time, which was like, nice try. I'll give you credit that it's a pretty good try, but the technology wasn't quite there yet. But then, sorry, something in my eye. But then they made Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess is what Ocarina of Time should have been. Okay? Everything that should have been in Ocarina of Time, they put in Twilight Princess. Like Ocarina of Time, you defeat the water dungeon boss, the ice still doesn't melt. The Zoras are still just disappearing, or just frozen, right? Twilight Princess, you save the Zoras. You get to see the fruits of your labor, which is beautiful. You get to fight Ganon, and Ganon in Ocarina of Time just didn't look that imposing. Ganon in Twilight Princess looked like a dude who would fuck you up. I mean, seriously, I would not want to be left in a room with that dude, because he would just kill everyone in the room and laugh about it. Zant was creepy as hell. Zant was just frightening, okay? Zant was frightening, okay? That dude, I enjoyed killing him, okay? Like, I really enjoyed finally killing him. I enjoyed when he finally killed him. And also, Twilight Princess gave us a great companion. Because Navi, I didn't find her annoying. I just got tired of... she had almost no personality whatsoever. But Midna... Midna was awesome. I wouldn't be upset if they brought back Midna. I would not. If they had an assist trophy in the Legend of Zelda, the new Legend of Zelda, where you could assist trophy, where you summon Midna and Ocarina of Time Link, and he uses the feral attack to just kill to attack dudes, I wouldn't be mad. I would not be mad. Next, number 2. Link Between Worlds. Link Between Worlds is a great game. It is a proper sequel to number 1, which, from what I just said, you probably can guess what it is. It is a throwback to a better age, when Zelda wasn't trying to top its combat and instead was trying to top the exploration and puzzle solving, and that feeling of accomplishment that you get from figuring out a puzzle, or figuring out a better way to defeat enemies, or get the hang of how to use items well. it's a very well made game, and plus the music was awesome. A lot of remixed tunes from the original Link to the Past, and I have nothing to say negative to say about that. Now, number one is Link to the Past. It was the first Legend of Zelda I played. I was like 5 years old. I couldn't read very well yet, and this game encouraged me to want to increase my reading level so that I could understand how to play it. And it's my first, and I love it. And it is the measuring stick by which I measure every other Legend of Zelda game. And many have been found wanting. You notice nowhere on my list is Skyward Sword. Now, Skyward Sword is not a bad game. But is it as good as Link to the Past? No. It's way too, like, it has, like, Skyward Sword has a lot of promise, but I feel they spent more time working on the combat of that game than the world. Because, like, if they had spent just as much time on the combat as they spent on fleshing out the sky, like, above the clouds, if they had more islands and, like, towns and cities, that game could have been better. But instead, it was very confining. And I've never really felt that way in a Legend of Zelda game, but this one felt very confining. It felt very, almost sterile in some ways. Wasn't a bad game, but just nowhere close to Link to the Past. Link to the Past felt huge. It wasn't huge, but it felt huge. There was always something to explore, always somewhere to go, and there was always a different way of playing it. And for that, I gotta say it's a great game. Next, so to recap. Okay, as I said, to recap, my top 10, I had to go back and remember what I said, because this is extemporaneous, okay? This is just off the top of my head, as you can tell by the pauses and ums. This is all me, people. This is all me, all my head. Number 10, Majora's Mask. Number 9, the Oracle games, both Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. Number 8, Four Swords Adventure. Sorry, Four Swords Game Boy Advanced. Number 7, The Adventures of Zelda 2 Link's, The Adventures of Link, also known as Zelda 2. Number 6, Legend of Zelda, the original Legend of Zelda NES. Number 5, Ocarina of Time. Number 4, Wind Waker. Number 3, Four Swords Adventure / Twilight Princess. Number 2, Link Between Worlds. And number 1, Link to the Past. Now, I have to add a caveat. I left one game off this list that I wanted to add, but I just simply forgot. Link Between Worlds is actually sharing the number 2 spot with another handheld Zelda, Link's Awakening. That's right. And I'll tell you why. Both of these games were massive. Encourage you to play at your own pace. Had Link exploring, you know, in his own way. Both of them were handheld Zeldas, and both of them really reinvigorated my love of the Zelda franchise. Because, I mean, Skyward Sword kind of turned me off a little bit to the Legend of Zelda. And this brought me back. Link Between Worlds. Just like Majora's Mask, not Majora's, Ocarina of Time kind of turned me off a little bit to the Legend of Zelda. Excuse me. To the Legend of Zelda. But Link's Awakening revitalized me. Even though I know Link's Awakening came out before Ocarina of Time, but, you know, and I had played it before Ocarina of Time, actually, but it just really brought everything back home for me. This is how Legend of Zelda should be. Combat is the smallest aspect of a Legend of Zelda game. It's about the exploration and the discovery and the puzzle solving. It's an adventure. You know, if most of your adventure is spent, you know, it's like Indiana Jones. Yeah, he fights Nazis, but really, it's him solving all those puzzles and getting away from stuff. That's the great point about it. He's an adventurer. So, um, this concludes my top 10 um, Legend of Zelda games. I cheated a little bit because I combined some of them, but sue me, it's my list. Um, if you'd like to, you can leave your top 10 favorite Legend of Zeldas in the comment section, or just one of your favorites. If you don't want to go for 10 or 5 or whatever, or top 3, whatever. Remember, rate, comment, subscribe, and have a good day.